Hello everyone, it's Chloe. I'm covering a game on the map Relegate. There's a tournament on site, Tiny Wars. Just started up. This is the first map of the tournament. Mixed base map, so 3 bases against 3 bases. And this game was not played in the tournament. This was a ranked game played on the map a while ago, but I found it really interesting. We have Zerobillion versus Nini, two very strong players. I'm not the most familiar with the latter. I don't know quite where they are, but very strong. And I'll get into the matchup. Zerobillion in the red, Nini in the blue. So we have Mira versus Will. Now Mira is kind of a global damage and probably more of a stally CO, I would think. And yeah, she has really big zone radius, so on a mixed base map she can kind of charge that easily, much more easily than maybe on some other maps where fighting isn't happening all the time. But on the other hand, Will has a strong day today, about plus 30-10 for all ground units. And on a mixed base map, that can really help a lot to have a strong day today, right? So because it's so much more fighting, the strong day today can make a difference much quicker in the match. And I would definitely think picking Mira as a stallier CO on a very aggressive map would put you at a disadvantage. So kind of playing an uphill battle just from the CO pick. So that's something to consider. I think we can almost get into it. There are a lot of contested cities on this map. I won't really try to point them all out, but I think kind of like everything like along like this center kind of squiggly and then you mirror that, it's pretty contested. I think around this airport, there's only one airport. The temp airports are bait. You can't produce from those, so I think anything within 6 tiles of this airport would go to the airport player, I would think. So that kind of outlines the sort of diagonal zone of their control. Other than that, it's pretty hard to tell what properties are going to go to who. And yeah, we'll get into it. So to start out, Zerobillion has the choice of where to buy their first bike, and they actually go for double infantry, which is really interesting. They can double bike next turn instead, but I expected to see a bike from this base that would capture this city and chain into the center very early, so not seeing that as interesting. Nini gets the bike on the left. This is going to chain from this city down to here. And of course both players are going to capture the opposing city first, so making a bike to, I don't know, capture this city and then not chain anywhere great doesn't make too much sense to me, so it does make sense that they'd be going for bikes, like, not for this city, right? But otherwise, nothing too special to note other than getting a bike down here instead of over here, which I think makes sense because this actually has a city it can reach faster than an infantry could. So this infantry will chain here, the bike will capture this one, so this all makes sense so far. And does go for the double bike at this point. Now they actually, so Zerobillion sent, instead of getting this closer capture with their infantry, they decided to send their infantry this way to get this capture, which is kind of strange. So instead of getting a bike on turn 1, sending it for this city and chaining into the center, they got 2 infantry first and are using the second infantry to go to the center and the bike to chain to the right. So whereas Nini went for this bike chain like very quickly, Zerobillion is a bit delayed with it, but has more center pressure with the 2 infantry there. Oh yeah, right, and also Zerobillion is capturing this city very soon, which I consider contested. I think it's contested. So it's really cool, and kind of, yeah, I guess so. Center control is really important in mixed base maps, because if you control the center of the map, you can choose to front shift however you want to, and you can kind of create pressure and split the opponent's army, but have yours clumped, and that could be a gigantic advantage. Something else I kind of forgot to talk about was the first copter can be a big deal, because your opponent would have to build 2 anti-air to really cover it, or 1 anti-air and 1 copter, but either way you're gaining tempo by getting the first copter, more so than I would say on most other non-mixed base maps. Really interesting by Zerobillion to not immediately capture their airport, But this could be like they have an opener planned out, and you know they have a specific timing. They don't need to get the copter one day earlier. I don't know, but that's noteworthy. And they save a bit of money. I mean, no reason to get another bike. Maybe everything's kind of in one turn of range of being captured anyways. Mini Nini chose to go for this city up here instead of sending their infantry to get like this city as well, or instead rather. I thought this city here might be more contested, but that's okay. Maybe they wanted to get this one for whatever reason. I don't quite know, but they chose to go for this city instead of the center one, whereas Zerobillion has focused this city faster than getting this one, right? So it's another difference in their playstyles. I don't really know it better, so I don't have too much more to say about that, but definitely they've already made differences in how they think they should play it. I think potentially Zerobillion could go for this interrupt. I mean, no, this city isn't really contested actually. It's in one vehicle turn of this base, so it doesn't make sense to interrupt it in my opinion, so. Unless they choose not to, yeah, so that's good, that's good. So yeah, the two central infantry are going to be center control for Zerobillion. Oh, and something, oh man, I forgot to talk about it. So Mini Nini last turn saved up an extra, they could have bought a bike, right? They could have bought a bike up here, which would then capture this city, right? So this infantry would get this one, the bike would get this, and chain into this. So they could get a bike which would chain and pay for itself after, whatever, 4 turns, right? It would actually like make back the money, and bikes are just stronger than infantry. But they chose to not get a bike because they have a specific build in mind, right? And we're gonna see that here, but it was pretty interesting. And they could have afforded the bike and had enough to still get the first tank of the match, you know? So they had that option, but they chose to have an extra 2k here. Let's see. This all looks okay. Oh, but then here's something. So last turn Zerobillion chose to get a bike from this base, and the bike, I don't know, I guess to help get more center control, right? But the issue with that is potentially they don't have enough to get a double tank this turn without base skipping. And on mixed base maps, because there's fighting all over the map, it really helps to have extra infantry, because they'll find fights to take part in very quickly. Like it'll, yeah, you don't want to base skip if possible, but having one tank, building it on the opposite side of the map, now they have to choose, and they choose not to get another tank, a second tank, so they're going to struggle to deal with the Will tank. And Will's going to have 17,000 next turn, which, you know, that's enough for them to get 2 tanks if they want to. Or in this case, he's able to get the first copter, and it's really going to be difficult for Zerobillion to deal with. I'll say it when it happens, I guess. A lot of small fighting happening all over. Yeah, and this is what I think is really difficult now, because Will has a strong day today, and Mira does not. So Zerobillion, I think, is best off here not putting their super on this tank, which can, you know, move up and start getting charged right now, but it might be better to just have a veteran be able to fight back here, because they have to, I don't think you want to build an anti-air right away. Usually you make the copter like pick a path, like either the copter's going to go here, left, or bottom right, and you don't want to build an anti-air like on the bottom right and then the copter goes left and you have to build another one, right? So you don't really want that. I think one of the issues here is you can't counter the Will tank with your own tank. You know, you need at least two vehicles, I think, to bring it down, or, you know, if you got a copter out, they could deal with it or something, but I don't know how to actually deal with this. So there was fighting on the left here, and right, so Mini Nini interrupts the capture here, and in exchange, right, Zerobillion will get 2 attacks back. So pretty much trading an infantry, that's a good trade for Mini Nini. They interrupt the capture and trade infantry together, so that's kind of like a slightly positive trade there. On this side, they kind of went for the same play, right? There's only 1 unit, they can strike them back, and it's this bike. So just kind of slightly positive trades for Mini Nini, and just getting a small edge that way. Although Zerobillion does kind of have the center control and getting more central properties, maybe even getting more contested properties, but they're not actually up in income, so even though it felt to me like they were getting that lead, they really aren't ahead, I guess. So that's interesting. And yeah, I don't know how Zerobillion is going to deal with this tank. Oh yeah, so they start getting charged. They do put the CO here, and this tank honestly can swing up and... Yeah, getting the veteran here, this is fine actually. I panicked a bit too much from this one tank. I think this is fine. You'll get the veteran tank here, you can buy another tank from this base, and then next turn if the copter comes down, you can just get an anti-air. And 2 tanks and an anti-air is going to deal with this force just fine. With this capture, I think is a mistake. This tank reaches, actually. Maybe they didn't notice, but this is... I think Will one-shots this, or if not, leaves it at 1 or 2. And just gets charged kind of for free, right? You can't punish this, I think. So yeah, this... I don't think it's worth losing the unit for that, but maybe. Oh, and this is smart, this is smart. So the problem on this map, I didn't really talk about it too much. The bases have rivers around them, and if a unit gets on this tile, if an enemy unit runs up here, you end up base locking yourself to fight back. So you kind of have to put a unit here so that you don't get base locked like that. So that's smart, definitely making sure they don't get locked in there. Fighting back on the left, they kill an infantry that's even trade, but their capture is delayed another turn, so... And same on the bottom right here. So the bottom right's a little different, because even though their capture is interrupted, they did get to charge up the mirror super a bit more, so maybe there's an argument that that's okay. They chose to take a fight in the center, infantry swinging at full HP infantry on their own city, like slightly negative trade, but again they're getting power charge. Maybe that's worth it, I don't quite know. Oh, that's not good. Okay, that's probably a mistake. Oh no, they're tank covers. Okay, I'm missing a lot. Okay. I think this fight works out well for Zerobillion because they have an anti-air up here. I didn't notice they bought the anti-air. I think that was maybe an early counter with the copter. It just went the other way. But they do get some nice trades out of this. And yeah, no tank to deal with the anti-air. Really going hard on the top. So yeah, this trade, this is a miserable trade. That's probably... I don't know if that's even a low roll, but that's really rough. It's just better to not swing at this, I think. But that's really tough. And something also that was kind of sinister. Yeah, I mean, it's just very good tactics from Nini from this point on. I have seen the match, but it is... It's just very hard to play mixed-based maps. You know, it's very aggressive, it ends very quickly. And there's a very nice tactic with this infantry, right, comes up through the river and actually blocks in the base this way, because the rivers are around it. Anti-air can't hit the copter. Right tank got to finish off the other tank. HQ right here is exposed. It is looking very bad for Zerobillion, very quickly. Although they did kind of win this fight here, and that's pretty cool. They do, I mean, I thought when I saw this that it was just instantly game over, but they actually charged the super and put everything down to 9, so it takes a while to interrupt this HQ capture. They get a medium tank. Still no way to dislodge this infantry, sadly. They're getting kind of close to, I don't know, base locking the bottom right or something. Just some pressure. They have pressure on the left here, some pressure on the bottom right. Kind of winning like the infantry battle. They have the center capture, center control, anti-airs, shifting. But despite all of this, it's just the HQ's gone, you know? There's really no way to salvage it at this point. I love the game, super exciting though. There's a lot of fighting, constantly. And it was kind of just like it all ended really quickly, you know? It went downhill really fast. I mean, pretty much the moment that this infantry can step on here and base lock, it kind of is over. And it's not so easy to stop that. You have to kind of put the bike, I think, on the city. And you don't want to get stuck like choked in your own base, like by this bridge getting locked, because then your HQ gets captured. So how do you actually stop this? It might just be game over at this point, actually, all the way back here. Like this tank has to make it up here, you also need an anti-air and you need a way to deal with this tank with no squares. You know, you don't really have tiles to deal with it. So I think like the bike has to swing at this bike maybe, and that can maybe like block the base here so that you're free to get units out. You sit your tank on the city and you buy an anti-air. Like there's a lot of small things that have to be done. But yeah, getting cut off and the HQ being vulnerable is actually a big deal. And I think back here, even without the HQ being really exposed and all of that, I think allowing Will to get 10 charge or... Yeah, I mean, he got 10 charge and got to, you know, killed his unit. Even though you get the city, I really don't like losing a unit. Especially on mixed-based maps. I think the pressure from having extra units that can threaten to capture things is way too big. It's easy to miss if the tank could interrupt it or, you know, kill this unit, this bike. Maybe he thought, like, after this, the counter hit will be good enough, but the mirror tank wasn't enough to deal with the Will tank. And I think this is kind of what would be, I guess, expected having a strong day today on a mixed-based map that, you know, one fight could kind of end the game right there. Also getting the first copter was a pretty big deal, and Zerobillion getting the anti-air up here where it didn't quite deal with the copter helped a lot. Or, you know, helped Nini. Although anti-air was able to take part in this fight here. But yeah, it was a super interesting game. And if I see more, you know, if I watch the tournament games and they look really cool, maybe I'll cover this map one more time. And yeah, that's all for now. See ya.